Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me here. This is going to look a little different to what you may be used to in the past. This presentation is designed to be uploaded to YouTube when we're finished here. And so there are going to be fewer slides because I want you to be able to focus on taking notes and listening and thinking. So that people who are watching from home or listening while they drive, they don't need to be distracted by the images on their screens. They can just listen and think while they're going about their tasks at home or in their car. So you'll notice that little difference. Also, every statistic that I quote in this presentation, the studies for those statistics are in the description box on the YouTube channel. And every link that we bring up or talk about here today will also be in that description box. So those of you who are listening later, once this is up online, you can have access to everything we talk about here in that description box. So if you have questions, head up there first. I want you to make sure that if you are a teen, you have paper and pencil ready, because this is really about you thinking through the kind of life you are trying to create right now that will be a huge blessing to you in the future. So let's just jump right in. And before I jump right in, you will see this QR code. Please hop on there when we're going through this discussion today. If you have questions, we're going to save some time at the end. If we have time, I'll try and get through everything so that I can answer some of your questions. Just like in the past, when we are asking questions to a group of strangers, we need to make sure that our wording remains anonymous and respectful in our questions. So I will get to as many as I can. Hopefully we'll have time for at least 2 or 3 by the end. So if something comes up in your mind or you have a concern that you would like me to address, please use that little QR code and submit your question. It just goes to a little Google Doc where you can just write your sentence and I'll read through them and answer the ones that I can here at the end. Okay, now let's get into it. So I wanted to start by sharing with you why I care about talking to teenagers about developing healthy sexuality. And one of the biggest reasons is that I too was once a teenager who struggled with a developing curiosity about sex and sexuality when I was probably about 11 years old. And I had my own struggles with learning self-mastery and learning how to understand what sexuality's role was in my life, the importance of it, and also some of the dangers that came with it. And because of my experience, and I had a really positive experience, I want to reach out to those of you who might not be having such a positive experience with your struggles. I was blessed to be raised in a home where my parents were very open and honest about sexuality and about sex. We could ask any questions we wanted. We were never shunned or made to feel bad about ourselves, and our parents genuinely wanted to help us. That being said, because of some aspects of my personality, it took me several years to figure this aspect out that was a part of myself, a very important part of myself. And they just lovingly guided me through it. It wasn't until I got older that I realized so many of my friends, no one was even having that conversation in their home. And they were just left to figure it out on their own. And that is not what I want for you. I hope that you have access to some wonderful support in your life. And I hope that you are spending time thinking about and working through what you want to create with your own divine sexuality and what that looks like for you. So let's get into this. I want to start with some of the myths surrounding pornography use and sexuality and the facts instead. So let's go over some of these top 3 right here on your screen. Number 1, pornography is only a boy issue. As I can attest from the story you just heard from me, it is not just a boy issue. Each of us are a little bit different, and everybody has their own personal sex drive that develops as they go through puberty and age into adulthood. And for boys or for girls, that can look different. Some people have higher sexual curiosity, higher sex drive. Some people aren't curious about it at all, don't even spend any time thinking about it. It's not really something on their radar. Everything along that spectrum, whether you are a boy or a girl, is normal and healthy. That's why when we just give blanket statements like this, oh, you only have to worry about teaching pornography because you have to worry about that because you have all sons. No. If you are a person, sexuality is part of being a person. And so regardless of whether you're a boy or a girl, you can have curiosity and interest in this, or you cannot. All of them are normal. But it is true that boys have a greater tendency to be seeking out this stuff online than girls. That being said, 75% of boys who they did in this study that will be linked in the description box reported to having consumed pornography, and 70% of girls reported as having consumed it. That's not that big of a difference. That also means that if you extrapolate that data to whoever is participating with us here, a pretty good percentage of everyone in this room has experience with viewing pornography. And what the data is showing us is that 73% of teenagers between the ages of 13 and 17 who were asked about pornography in the study they were doing, they had watched it online. And out of all the people who had seen pornography online, most of them had seen it by the time they reached age 13. And many of you in this room are probably thinking, oh my gosh, I saw it way younger than that. I know that when I was growing up, I saw it a lot younger than that. And that was before internet times, because apparently I was born when dinosaurs roamed the earth back in the 80s, and the internet was first becoming a popular thing. Cell phones weren't a thing until I was in college. So curiosity about sexuality has always been around, but it hasn't fit in a little device that you carry around with you in your pocket until the last 20 years. You guys are facing a very different world than those of us who grew up in the 1900s. All right, let's go to our next myth. Pornography is harmless. You're going to hear this all the time because we have such a high percentage of people who are looking at pornography. It's the number one use of online views, right? It's by far the largest way that the internet is utilized. Because of this, our world likes to tell us that it's no big deal. It's not going to hurt us. It's normal. Everybody's looking at it. Who cares? Just, take care of that in private. We don't really talk about it, but everybody's looking at it. And this attitude of that pornography is harmless couldn't be further from the truth, and is a very dangerous attitude to have. I want to slip in right here. Curiosity about sex and sexuality is very normal and very healthy. It is built into us. We are designed to have a sex drive. Pornography takes that very healthy and normal drive and twists it into causing a lot of real problems for us as we're developing self-mastery and developing into adults. So people who consume pornography to the point that it's become an addiction, their choices have very real consequences in the real world. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the future, but pornography literally rewires your brain, the way you think about things, the way you feel about sex and sexuality, and the way that you're able to connect in actual real world relationships when you're ready to have one, all are negatively impacted by pornography. It is definitely not harmless. One of the major reasons why it is not harmless is that a majority of teens who have viewed pornography report that they have been exposed to aggressive and violent acts in watching that pornography. Now, if you think about it, when you are in love with someone and you are forming a bond with them through sex, I'm guessing that most of us don't have in our heads that it's going to be a painful, violent, or scary experience. We want it to be a loving, safe, beautiful experience. And pornography paints it as the opposite of that. It turns union and bonding into aggression and selfishness. It can be very damaging. So this brings us to myth number 3, which is that pornography actually enhances relationships. For a lot of us when we were growing up, if we don't dare talk to our parents and we have questions about sex, we're gonna Google it, right? We're gonna try and find information from our friends or secretly try and look stuff up. And we think that the things that we're viewing online will teach us what sex is about. And pornography will teach us how to have sex or I don't know, how to be better at having sex when we finally do have sex. It couldn't be further from the truth. Pornography is not based on real relationships, definitely not based on real healthy relationships. And they're finding that it actually has a big negative impact on healthy relationships because it can reduce your sexual satisfaction when you finally do have sex in the real world. And because of the way it rewires your brain, you're not able to connect emotionally to people through sex the way that biologically that was designed to happen. And it also creates a really unhealthy and unrealistic expectations about what's going to happen when you do have sex. And these problems follow children and teenagers into adulthood and lead to a lot of sexual disconnection and dissatisfaction. Also, one of the major alarming trends that's happening in our world today is that because pornography is so prevalent and because we're all hooked to our devices, fewer and fewer people are engaging in healthy sex or have healthy sex lives or even are having sex at all. And if sexuality is divine and an integral part in our human experience, having that be completely replaced and supplanted by a pornography addiction is a huge problem. So over the years, there have been adults that I have spoken to and worked with who started viewing pornography when they were younger. They never dealt with the issue. It was always something they just decided to keep hidden, and they felt like once I get married, once I grow up, this won't be an issue anymore. And that simply isn't true. If you don't learn to develop self-mastery now, you don't suddenly become really good at managing self-mastery once you're past 18. It is a skill we need to develop over time. And these adults that never learned that and had their pornography addiction follow them into their marriage, they very frequently describe things like feeling so guilty that they can't connect once they're actually married, or that because they had viewed so many disturbing and violent things in pornography, that having a normal, healthy relationship doesn't physically turn them on in the way that it's supposed to. They're kind of broken in that regard, so that when it came to actually having a connection with another human being that they want to love and support and be with, their brain can't get there because they've completely rewired it from all these years of struggling with this addiction. And they're having a really hard time connecting to their partner because they only associate their sexual response to pornography. So please be aware of the facts and how these choices you're making now have a huge impact on the satisfaction that you have in the real world now and in the future. So let's talk about developing self-mastery and what that looks like. First, let's talk about what self-mastery is. So self-mastery means that you pretty much have self-control. You know how to get the sleep that your body needs. You don't scream and react in rage when you don't get your way, like when you were a toddler. You know how to be a hard worker. You know how to have healthy relationships. You know how to spend your time wisely, whether you're going to school or work or in a church calling or in a friendship setting. You know how to be a reliable and dependable adult. You have balance in your life and in your emotions. And one of the aspects we develop self-mastery is in our sexuality. Developing sexual self-mastery is just as important as developing self-mastery in all these other ways. Why does this matter in our sexual relationships now and in the future? So, a feature of healthy sexual relationships is having someone who loves, supports, and respects you. Having those feelings in a loving relationship is so fulfilling, helpful, and satisfying in adulthood. It's one of the most wonderful gifts that we can experience here in this life. One way that we show that love and respect and desire to be together, obviously, is through sex and our sexuality. When you are married and you are sealed in a union that you're working together to create something beautiful, healthy sexuality and healthy sex strengthens and unifies that bond, helps you come closer and closer to each other. And it becomes a unique and private and beautiful thing that you build in your little unique, private, beautiful couple. So you can see how having a lack of self-mastery or a porn addiction will go directly against this beautiful thing you're trying to create, because healthy sexuality is about giving and being known and being vulnerable, while pornography is about being closed off, being selfish, and disconnection. So they go against each other. And the lie of pornography is that it somehow makes that better when it in fact does the opposite. So remember, curiosity about sexuality is normal and natural, but porn hijacks that normal and natural desire. You need to decide what you believe and what you want for sexuality, not the internet. So, developing self-mastery. Let's talk about these two aspects where understanding these two principles will help you in developing your sexual self-mastery in particular. By now, you all probably know what the algorithm is, right? You get on the internet, you are looking for some cute winter boots, or if you're a guy, you're looking for some cool Nike kicks, I don't know, whatever you're looking for online. You do a little bit of research and then you find that over the next several weeks, every time you get on to Google or whatever search engine you use, you see ads very similar to what you were searching for on the side of your screen, because the algorithm noticed what you typed into that toolbar and that search bar and is now feeding you what it thinks that you're interested in. And now we have the freaky thing of us having a conversation with someone while our phone is in our pocket, and then opening up our phone and it brings up that very thing we were talking about. That's so freaky. I need to learn how to turn that feature off on my phone. But this can be a very, very dangerous road to go down if you're typing things of a sexual nature into that search bar. If you are, let's say you're 11 years old, this is super common, right? You don't really dare talk to your parents about sex because that feels weird, but some kids have been saying stuff at school, you're curious about it. You type it in. You probably can't even spell it correctly. You type it into Google or you get onto YouTube, you type it in, and it's going to bring you up those videos. You start to feel a little bit guilty, like you probably shouldn't be looking at this, but you're curious about it. You watch a few of the videos, you decide, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. You don't look at it anymore. Well, because you typed that in, the algorithm now is going to start feeding you that kind of content because it says this is what this person wants to see. If you decided it wasn't for you and you felt guilty about it, but it's continuing to present itself at you as a temptation, you're just more and more tempted to keep following that rabbit trail. And what started out as kind of a natural curiosity, right? Anytime we're exposed to anything sexual, especially when we're starting into puberty, I mean, we have a reaction. What started out as a normal, curious thing now has turned into a really big problem that's affecting relationships, sleep, self-control, self-esteem. It just can lead to a huge issue. So, what do we do about this? If you are curious about sex, first of all, that means you're normal. And if you are able to ask those questions to a trusted adult who you respect and who has your same values, rather than going onto Google, you set yourself up for being able to be properly informed, being able to be loved and supported as you're working through understanding this aspect of yourself and avoiding a major addictive pitfall in the future. Okay, let's jump into non-concordance. Kind of a big fancy word. Let me use a little food court illustration to help you understand what this term means and how it applies to sexual self-mastery. So, if you've ever been with your friends at the mall, which I secretly hate the mall, but teenagers like the mall, right? Or they used to back in the 90s. Maybe you guys all go somewhere else now. But back in the day, the cool kids would go to the mall and hang out. And at the mall, they have the big food court where it has all the different restaurants. So you guys have been walking around the mall and everybody's kind of starving. You decide to go grab a little bite to eat. And you walk in, because you're so hungry, your mouth like starts to water and your stomach starts to grumble. Like you are starving and there's all these smells happening. And your body has these reactions because there's food around. It's having a biological reaction to food because you have your hunger drive that is saying, hey, there's food here and I'm hungry. Now, if you are lactose intolerant, that means you can't digest dairy very well. You're not going to go over to the ice cream counter and get yourself an ice cream because you know that will make you very sick. But you might go grab some fries or, I don't know, get some Chinese food or something you know isn't going to have dairy in it. And even though everything smelled good and your body had a reaction to the foods and the smells, you knew that there were some that you just don't like or that you don't prefer or that actually will cause you discomfort and harm. So you just avoid those because you know they're not good for you, even though they're presented as an option. You pick the one that you know is going to make you feel good and is going to satisfy your hunger. Non-concordance is when you have a sexual response to something that you see that you know in your head is something that makes you uncomfortable or you know isn't good. Anytime your body is exposed to a sexual image or a video or any sexual content, the same way that your body had a physiological response to food, your body has a physiological response to being exposed to something of a sexual nature. Similar drives. And just like we have to learn to have balance with what we eat for our hunger drive, we need to learn to have balance with what we consume sexually or what we participate in sexually based on what we know is good and healthy for us. If you do not understand that you can be turned on by seeing anything of a sexual nature, and you have been looking at a lot of different violent, confusing, inappropriate things for you to be watching of a sexual nature, and your body has a response, you might think, oh, I am interested in that. My body had a reaction to that. Instead of understanding that your body will have a reaction to anything sexual that it sees, and it's up to you to decide how your sexuality is going to develop, what you are going to choose to do with your sexuality. You decide. It's a regular, normal, biological drive. So make sure you understand it, and you can see how, if you're getting on and searching things up and being exposed to a lot of stuff and you're not having those conversations with a trusted adult, you could be really confused and misled about what sexuality means for you. So instead of letting the world tell you, and instead of just going by whatever whim seems interesting, you decide. You decide what is healthy. You decide what is not. You decide how to proceed. So you want to make sure that you make wise decisions that align with your desires for what you want your sexuality to be about as an adult. So for me, I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I believe that marriage should be between a man and a woman. That's what I believe. I believe that marriage is eternal and sacred. I believe that I want to engage in expressing sexuality with the person that I am married to. And I want to be faithful to them. And I want to focus only on developing a healthy and loving relationship with them. That is what I believe. So I don't want to be out consuming content that's going to confuse or tempt me in a direction against what I am hoping for in the future, what I was able to attain, right? Because that was really important to me. And it took me a while to figure out this self-control and figure out what that meant. But I did, and it has been a major blessing in my life. So I wanted to give you an important warning about pornography and non-concordance and the specific way that it can really be harmful. So earlier we talked about how violence is a major theme right now in a lot of pornography. So much violence. And that's just not healthy or good or acceptable on any level. And I heard a story of a young man once who was telling about how he started being curious and interested in pornography when he was pretty young, and it had become a major problem by the time he was in high school. And he figured it out, but this time he hadn't. And he remembered being just so devastated because there was a girl who he really liked in high school who he thought was super cute, and he wanted to have a relationship with her. And every time he thought about her, the violence from the pornography would come into his mind. He was just sickened that he would even think of someone that he cared so much about and wanted to pursue a good, fun, loving, high school fun relationship with, would be thinking of doing these harmful, violent things to her. It just made him physically sick. It was scary. He didn't want to think like that, but the pornography just messed up his brain. And it took him a while to figure it out and get back on track to what he actually wanted, which was a healthy, loving, good relationship. So what started out for him as mere curiosity, because it was left unchecked and he never talked to anybody about it, at this point in his story, it became a major crippling hurdle for him. So I want you to be very, very aware and intentional about what you're choosing to consume online. And if you're struggling with that, you need to talk to someone who can help you. Okay, next. If you are struggling with pornography, remember, in the world we live in today, that is a normal thing to have questions about, to struggle with, but it is something you need to address and you need to develop self-mastery over. One of the ways we can learn how to have self-control over our divine gift of sexuality is to understand pornography and understand the levels of exposure to pornography. So let's go over those right now. so that if you are currently struggling, you have a kind of a healthier idea of where you're at and what you need to do about it. So number one, inadvertent exposure. It's like a grown-up way of saying you saw it by accident. You were playing on your Chromebook with your buddies during the lunch break or with your friends during lunch, and some ads for some kind of game pop up on the side of your screen, and it's like anime girls dressed really immodestly, very voluptuously, right? And you just saw that pop up and you're like, oh, that's not good. But you saw it, but you weren't seeking it out. It just came up on your screen. That happened to my kids all the time at school. They would like get on for some assignment they needed to be working on, and just like crap would pop up on their screen, and they'd be like, Mom, I don't even want to look at this. Like, why is that an issue? So that's inadvertent exposure. Or you're at school and some kid who has not been using their phone very wisely is showing you, puts a picture in your face of something you definitely don't want to see. Inadvertent exposure. Could that lead to you being curious about it and thinking about it? Yeah, right? Because your body's going to have a reaction to seeing something sexual, but you're not seeking it out. Okay, next one, occasional use. This is when you do have some questions and you do have some curiosity and you've intentionally been looking at stuff. You know you shouldn't, but you have. And it's not a problem all the time, but you are tempted by it. I think all these things are very normal and typical right now in our world today. So intensive is where you take that to the next level up. You look at it a lot and you know you shouldn't, you know it makes you feel bad, but it's kind of where you turn to if you're bored and you're alone, or you're sad and you're alone, because it does give you like that dopamine hit, because biologically we're designed to have that beautiful union in the real world feel really good and nice, but pornography hijacks that. and then you just feel like crap afterwards. It's not the way that we were designed. But you're using it more and it's becoming an issue, and you find yourself frequently turning to that. Compulsive use. This is where it's become addictive. You can't help yourself. You are looking at it all the time. It's affecting your grades, your friendships, your relationship with your parents. It's starting to affect your attitude. It's starting to affect how you look at other people, and definitely how you feel about yourself. It is a problem and you don't know how to stop. These are the different levels of pornography exposure. Where are you? So with my own kids, I actually talk to them about pornography when they're very young, probably 5 years old. And we talk about what to do when they're in these situations. And everyone that I've worked with over the past is in a different place. Some people are just like, I don't even notice it. It's not something I care about, to some people being like, this is such an issue for me. I really have a hard time breaking free of this problem. And the way you approach it is going to be different for each. A lot of times just talking to your parents or another trusted adult and coming up with a plan for helping you make better choices over time is enough, and you figure it out. For some of you, you do need to talk to someone, a professional, and you need to put a way more extensive plan into place. And only you know that based on kind of what level you're at. So take a minute, pause the video if you need to, write down where you think you are and what kind of support you think you need going forward. Okay. If you are struggling with developing healthy sexual self-mastery, the biggest thing I want you to remember is that the opposite of addiction is connection. What the heck does that mean? Okay, let's talk about some of the ways that connecting to so many different things can help addictive tendencies to turn down or turn off over time. And before we get started in this section, please remember, developing self-mastery in all areas, including sexual self-mastery, is a process. It probably took me about 6 years to fully figure everything out. Some people, you have the conversation one time, they set their goals, they're fine. I have a far more addictive personality. I can't have social media. I really struggle with like scrolling and not using my time wisely. And I have to have some pretty strict standards set up for myself, because that's what I need. I have friends who that's not an issue for them at all. So it's a process, and it's an individual process. The important thing is that you're trying and you're learning and you're not quitting. But let's talk about connection. When I was growing up, my mom is really extroverted. She's one of those person who, like, she'll walk into the room and everybody will turn and look and be like, oh, she's here. She makes everybody feel so special. She makes everybody feel so safe. And she is completely recharged and energized by connecting with people. So that's one form of connection, and it's an important one. I have an opposite personality. I always tried to hide behind her, which is hilarious because she's 5'2" and I'm 5'8", and it didn't really work. But I was more quiet and shy in nature, and being around people, while I do enjoy it, is draining to me. I need a recharge after that. So I actually find connection in studying about interesting topics that fascinate me. I find a huge sense of connection in nature and quiet and beautiful, like mountain views or ocean views before me. Those are the things that help me just feel a connection to, I don't know, the world around me, the universe, to God. Everyone has their thing that helps them feel peaceful and connected. Connecting with people is very important, and it's an important part of connection. But there are other aspects. Whatever helps you feel alive and good and positive and happy and peaceful, that is where you find connection. So pause the video here and take a minute to write down a few of the ways that you feel connected to life, things that make you feel alive and good, things that you're passionate about. Write a few of those things down before we continue. Now that you've had a minute to write down a few of the things, a few of the ways that you feel connection, I want to just offer a few ideas to help you to have more of this balance as you're trying to develop sexual self-mastery and self-mastery in all aspects of your life as you're growing from teen to adult. The choices you are making now matter. So number one, put your phone down. If you're struggling with spending too much time on your phone, even if you're not looking at pornography, if you're wasting a lot of time on there doing things that aren't making your life better or don't make you feel good about yourself or don't help you connect with other people, what are you doing? And this is not just a teen issue. This is all of us, from children to adults. We all have a problem with spending too much time on our phones. Maybe some of you don't. The percentage of people who don't struggle with this is, you guys are like mutants, superhero mutants, good for you. But the rest of us, we struggle with this. You need to set some rules. I personally have to set digital timers on my apps. So I told you I already don't have social media because I just waste my time way too much on there. But I do have YouTube, which kind of, for me, kind of counts as social media, I guess. I have to set really strict limits on my YouTube usage because I can just go into some YouTube days of scrolling. And sometimes it's things that I am interested in and I'm learning new things, and that's great. But like 6 hours have passed and I blaringly look up and I have some weird like screen time hangover, and I just feel tired and ornery and majorly disconnected. And it wasn't a good thing for me in that moment. So I've had to set some pretty strict standards and rules for myself. Do I have to reset them all the time because I slip up? Yes. So this is a lifelong pursuit of learning to have balance and learning to utilize your technology devices so they are a tool for you, not a grown-up pacifier because you're avoiding something you don't want to do, or you're lonely and instead of making real world connections, you just turn to this device that makes you feel bad about yourself. We have to learn to put it down and step into the real world. Just step into the real world. If you're struggling with this, ask for help. So as my kids don't get a cell phone until they turn 16, and only then if they truly are ready for one. Because we wanted to just let them be a kid for as long as they could and to learn how to have real world relationships with real people. That needed to be the priority. So when they would get phones at 16, some of them really struggled with using their time wisely. And so we just like set up little text me a thumbs up if you if you did good with this, and you try and get as many as you can in a row or whatever. There's so many simple little things we can do to utilize our time more wisely with our devices. Ask for help. And I also put on here, when you feel frustrated and you feel like you keep slipping up, don't quit. Just keep trying. Try something different. Try something new. Ask for some new ideas. You will figure it out, I promise. Keep to the light. Do things that make you feel good, make you feel connected, make you feel enlivened, make you feel alive. What are those things? Do more of those things and fewer of the things that are causing a problem for you. So this parallels very nicely into that, which is adventure is out there, right? I love that movie. I love that quote from Up. If you're struggling with being disconnected from others because you can't live without your phone, be the one that plans stuff. And it doesn't need to be anything that costs money or is complicated. Plan to have your friends come over and do like a game night at your kitchen table. Go wander around your neighborhood. Go for a hike. Join a club at school. Learn a new skill. When you're walking anywhere, down the hall at school, in your neighborhood, in the hallway at church, walking around, I don't know, somewhere outside in the city, keep your head up and look at people and say hi to them. You will be astounded at how many people are always now just looking at their phone. We're more than that. Just smile. Just say hi. Get in the habit of doing that. Get in the habit of getting yourself out there. Do some service. There are so many wonderful, wonderful opportunities around us for service. I mean, they are everywhere, from serving a meal at a homeless shelter, tying blankets, volunteering to read with like kindergarten kids. I mean, there are so many ways. Even just sometimes my family and I, when my kids were young, we would just grab some garbage bags, put on some work gloves, and pick up some trash around our neighborhood. There are so many little ways. Find a little secret thing you could do that makes your mom or dad or one of your siblings happy. Like, any of those things are just little steps to helping you build connection. Okay, next, stay in balance. All right, this is one where you're going to need to do some writing. You need to take an honest look at what habits are throwing you out of balance and make a plan to correct them. So I told you, I can't do social media. It throws me out of balance. Also, if I don't exercise first thing in the morning, it's just not going to happen. I hate exercising. So I need to get it over with first thing. There are little things that throw me off. I have to have daily connection with spiritual things every day. So I have just a short little list of 2 or 3 things that I need to do because I like feeling connected to God. And if I don't do those things, I'm grumpier, I'm just not as helpful, I don't have the right perspective. So have some balance. So I'm just going to throw out some questions. Where are you getting out of balance? Is there a TV show or movie or some movies that you're spending way too much time on that aren't making you feel good but you're watching them anyway that you could let go? Are you spending a ton of time scrolling on social media? And is it making you feel better about yourself or worse? And are there some changes you could make there? Do you just spend a lot of time scrolling instead of just taking a nap or going for a walk or organizing something because you want to avoid, because you're kind of burnt out? Do you just scroll? I know that in some communities there are major issues with sexting, people sending each other really inappropriate images, and there are some very harsh rules about that and laws where you can be put on a sex offender list for life if you are found participating in that type of activity. Do you struggle with that, and do you need to let that go? Are you spending too much time staying up late because you're playing video games, or you're staying up listening to music and really you just should go to sleep? Are you eating healthy foods? Are you moving enough? Or are you on a couch staring at a screen? Be honest. I'm not saying that you can never look at your phone or never engage in some of those virtual activities that are fun. That's fine. But a lot of times they are the only thing we're doing, and now we don't have good hobbies, good connections, or any sense of passion for anything in life because we're just become couch potatoes. How are you out of balance? So I have found over the years that a lot of crap goes down at sleepovers. So my kids aren't allowed to have sleepovers. I know, does that make me a terrible mother? We do late nights and we do a lot of gathering at our house with all the teens and the kids, and it's really fun. But that was an issue. Good things just weren't happening, and everybody was so tired the next day. It just wasn't worth it. Are you listening to music that uplifts you and makes you feel good? Or I would add this one too. Are you spending too much time alone and cutting yourself off from others when you need to be making more of an effort to connect? And remember, that's different for everyone. Some people are more introverted. Some people are more extroverted. That's fine. Regardless of where you are there isn't a right or wrong, but you do need deep and abiding, healthy friendships and connections in your life. And you need to work for them. And you need to put in the time to build that. So write down a few of the things, little changes, don't make them hard, little changes you can make that are going to have a huge impact in your life. Okay, before we leave this section, as we're talking about connection, I think it's really important that you as teenagers understand consent and what consent means. So in my household, our kids don't start dating until they're 16. And one of the rules that we have is they need to ask for consent before they hold a girl's hand, put their arm around her, give her a kiss goodnight. They have to ask if it's okay. The reason why, we have found that people are coming from very different places in high school and in college, really, anytime you're dating. Some people are just like, man, I just want to kiss as many people as possible and get as much action as I can in high school. And some people are like, oh my gosh, if this person kisses me, it means they love me and we are going to be together forever and get married and everything. We're like locked in. That's a really big span of attitudes and expectations. And instead of risking that you're wrong about it, you just need to ask, right? Some people are like really affectionate and love a big hug. Some people that freaks them out. They just want to give you like a high five or a fist bump. We don't know who, so we ask. It's simple. And my kids have found that it actually is really empowering and has helped the people that they date feel really safe around them, and they're like really trusted and respected. You want that reputation. So understand consent and use consent. All right. We have now arrived at our question and answer section, which is great because we have about 10 minutes left here before you need to go on to your next activity. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to just jump right in. I'm just going to pick the 3 really quick that make most sense. Give me just a minute and we'll get to the questions. Okay. I'm going to hit these 3 before we close. Okay. So this person says, what should I do if I'm struggling, but I can't talk to my parents? It's true. Some of you are in homes where your parents might be making really unwise decisions and you don't necessarily trust them, or you know that they would freak out and wouldn't handle it well. I recommend one of 2 things. If you are struggling with this and you don't feel like you have someone that you can talk to, number 1, I would take an honest look at that relationship that you have with your parents, because sometimes you might feel like you can't talk to them, but if you give them a little bit of fair warning, like you know that they really love you and they want what's best for you, sometimes they just don't react the best. So I've had some kids I've worked with in the past who have said to their parents, like, I really need to talk to you about something, but I need you to be calm and supportive and not freak out. And if you can't do that, I don't want to talk to you about it. If you can do that, I totally want to talk to you and could use your help. And they started it like that. And that's actually been fairly successful. But if you truly cannot talk to your parents, there are other adults. When I was growing up, my friends who couldn't talk to their parents would actually come ask questions to my parents. So there's probably a good chance you do have a trusted adult in your corner. That could be a counselor at school. That could be a church leader. That could be the parents of one of your friends that you just see kind of do things in a way that seems a little more healthy and safe than what you have in your home. Ask them, talk to them, get the support that you need. That's okay. There are some strict rules as far as with school, like teachers aren't supposed to talk about these kind of things with students. It just kind of breaches that teacher-student dynamic. But the counselors at the school are definitely geared up for that kind of stuff. So think about someone there. I promise you there's someone that you look up to that will help you. Okay. This one says, okay, so this person has been struggling with looking at pornography for a long time, from the time they were pretty young, like 7 or 8. And they're still struggling with it. And they asked, is it too late for me to reverse the damage? It's a really good question. So you are not going to get to becoming an adult without having to deal with this in some fashion. Clearly, this individual is struggling with managing. Maybe they feel like they're a little bit out of control and they need help getting over this problem. Whatever we feed will grow. What do I mean by that? If you have been looking at pornography and it's becoming a problem for you, you need to change that. You've been feeding that issue. So that's going to keep growing if you keep feeding it. If you decide to feed another healthier aspect of your life, then this, if you're not feeding it, it won't grow. So over time, you can reset those preferences, retrain your brain to see and understand healthy and loving relationships over violent, selfish ones, and choosing objectifying people. You can choose to stop doing that and focus on valuing people, seeing people as individuals, serving people, loving people, seeing people for who they really are. I recommend, maybe if you feel like it's been an issue for a long time and you're having a hard time overcoming it, definitely ask for help. That could be a church leader, your parents. If you feel like it's a major problem, there are professional people. There are so many addiction recovery groups for teens and adults. Just look it up and go to one. Some of them are anonymous, some work with you one-on-one. But I would say it's definitely something worth fixing. And because it's going to take a while, don't wait. But yes, you will be okay. I promise you will figure it out. I promise you will be okay. But it is going to take effort. And don't be afraid of the effort. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Okay, so this last one, we just have a couple minutes left. I want to break my phone addiction, but it feels impossible. How long is this going to take? Okay. Several years ago, I was serving with the youth in my church calling. And I had one young woman, she was probably 16 or 17. She could not put her phone out of her hand. We would have activities where we'd have all the girls like put their phone somewhere else so they could focus and all be together. She literally couldn't do it. She felt like she was broken without it. So the struggle is real. Yes, you can figure it out, but it is going to be a process and it might take you a while. Here's the other thing though, to keep in mind. I know it feels scary and it feels big, but you can actually have someone take it away and you'll learn real quick. You'll be miserable for a week probably with withdrawals, but you'll figure out real quick that your life might be so much more happy and peaceful and connected without it. Now, that's extreme, but don't be afraid of extreme if that's what's necessary. It's a phone. It's not an eyeball or your foot. You could live without it. And a lot of people are happier without them. I have some really strict lockdowns on mine because I want my phone to be a tool. I want to be able to use it. I don't want it to use me. If that's something that you're interested in, talk to your parents about simplifying some things and some options you have on your phone so you don't feel the pull to it. It becomes less interesting. And that being said, doing that and then just leaving this gap of time with all the things you're using your phone for that you don't use anymore is going to be miserable. So you do need to fill that addiction to your phone with something else that's more positive. So taking up a dance class, an aerobics class, signing up to do some service every week, learning a new skill, craft, or hobby, any of these things where you can still use technology as a resource. Like you can still get on the TV and look up a YouTube thing about how to do whatever, draw, paint, crochet, I don't know, but you're not on your phone. Just helps pull some of that toxic tug in a healthier direction. Start there. And again, figure out your type of personality and know that for some people, these little changes over time work great. But if you have a more addictive personality, talk to someone who can help you with a little more structure and a little more probably discomfort to help you get control over it. But I promise that you can do it. Okay. Thank you all for your questions. Sorry that we weren't able to get to more, but in these last couple minutes we have, I just want to end with two quick things. Number one, your sexuality is normal and natural and divine. Your teen years is where you're going to learn self-mastery as you fully develop into adults. So your habits now are going to have very long-lasting effects on your future relationships with your spouse, and they will help you create a very fulfilling life starting now. I promise you'll figure it out. I wanted to share with you, if you want some more resources, on my website, uncommonsensebooks.com/resources. It's linked in the description box. I have, with each of my books, I have a whole host of links to all sorts of free resources, articles, assessments, videos, podcasts that will help you answer questions and figure things out as a family or on your own. So I recommend you getting on there and looking through any of these that seem interesting to you. And I also wanted to bring up at the bottom of my resources for the Before We Talk About Sex book that I have here on the YouTube channel an entire playlist of family home evening lessons that everybody can watch together, just like on the couch, that teach about healthy sexuality. Now, family home evening lessons. So these are geared toward people who are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So it's information from our leaders and teachings in the scriptures about different aspects of developing our divine, healthy sexuality. So if that's something you're interested in, you can definitely find that here on the YouTube channel. And that link is just at the bottom of that resource page on the website. So thank you so much for joining me. It was really great to talk to you. And remember, on the website, you can also reach out and schedule a guidance session with me if that's something you feel like would be helpful for you in helping you establish some healthy habits and getting some personalized guidance on your next steps. All right, guys, have a great day. We'll talk to you later.